Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Tales with TR, episode 181A. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr., coming at you from beautiful Sudbury, Ontario, coming at you with a hell of a hangover. Thank you to the Glorious Sons, specifically Adam Pac-Man Packer Paquette, the drummer, for leaving us some backstage VIP passes. It was awesome. We went back and literally drank every drink that was there. We shut the place down. I'm not sure they expected that when they invited us back, but it was an awesome time. Trevor Crane, shout out to my good buddy from St. John's, Newfoundland, who moved to Kingston a long time ago. I don't really see Trevor as much anymore, but we kept in contact, and he shoots me a note, says the Glorious Sons are playing tonight in Sudbury. Do you want to go to the show? I follow the Glorious Sons. God, I guess a lot of people don't know who I'm talking about. They're a big band here in Canada, but I believe they've gone stateside too. I believe I saw them on some show. I thought it was Jimmy Fallon, although I couldn't find it on YouTube. One of those, I don't know. If you go to Spotify, like their top songs have 50, 60, 70 million listens, right? So I'm assuming most people know who I'm talking about. If you don't, they came into prominence for me in about 2016, I think. I was in the St. John's Caps dressing room. A guy, Peanut Power, who's now a lawyer in Toronto. Peanut Power turned me on to them. It was an album called The Union, I believe, and the song was called Heavy. Other songs you might know, everybody knows Sawed Off Shotgun, SOS. Mercy, Mercy, Speed of Light just came out. I believe they had another one just come out, Killing the Myth. Anyway, they're a good band. They've got at least 4 or 5 albums that are worth a listen. You know, old school singer-songwriters that use instruments. But yeah, it was a fucking deadly time because we shoot part of Shoresy, part of it. I'd say maybe a third of the time. Doesn't matter really. A quarter of the time, we're in a place called Capreol, Capreol, and that's about a half hour away from Sudbury, roughly. And that's so like when we were, I'm just tuned out. Like if we're out there and I get up, we get picked up in the morning. Yesterday it was 7:00, I believe, and get shipped out there. You know, we read over our stuff, get to our trailers. Usually wardrobe's there waiting for us. Go about the day. So I'm just kind of tuned out, and you have so many lines to remember, and scenes, orders, and like today, technically, Shoresy is being filmed. Just a bunch of us have a day off, right? Because we're not in every scene, obviously. So anyway, when it's just a lot that goes into it. So I kind of tune out of anything local for the most part because I have to pay attention to the Oilers. I have to pay attention to this podcast and guests. I don't know who that's going to be tomorrow, but yeah, I don't know. I got a few options. But that's what I mean. I'm running by the seat of my pants at this. I've explained it before. Thanks for tuning in and pardon my inconsistency. I'd love to announce my guests every week. It'd probably help numbers if people knew who was coming, especially if it was a big. I know I got Jeremy Roenick coming soon, but again, I hate to get in scheduling conflicts with people that are asked so much, so often. Everybody and their dog wants Roenick on. He's a fucking legend who likes to speak and is good at it and has a lot of hot takes. Who the fuck wouldn't want a guy like that on? I just don't want to fuck up the scheduling, and then you lose a bit of respect and trust for the next time. And so it's usually layups. That's why, as I've been in Sudbury, I'm drifting off on another rant again. Anyway, that's why it's usually people from in and around the show, which I think you guys like anyway. And Cam Fergus, by the way, was a great fucking guest last week. If you haven't heard that one yet, listen, he was one of my favorite guests ever. And we didn't even really get into the stunts that Cam does. But anyway, getting back to the Glorious Sons. So anyway, the show, we head down. Yeah, it was about maybe like 7 or 7:30. Trev fucking sends me a message. Packer watches the show. He's got tickets for you guys if you want them. So I said, well, fuck. I didn't think we were going to be done. We got out of there at about 8:30 yesterday. So we bolted straight here. I got right to the hotel. Me, Fish, Goody, Dolo, and McD. And we were like, fuck it. We as soon as we got here, we changed, bolted down. And a friend of mine from Sudbury, Caitlin, nice girl. And she wanted to see the Glorious Sons as well. So I was like, fuck it, why not? Come with us. So we went, and they put on a hell of a show. Went backstage, and like I said, had a great conversation with a few of the guys in the band. Had some beers, and a lot of the other fans there. A couple were hockey players. And, when it comes to hockey, it's like the film world. Like, they say, like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. There's not like, I don't think you can, in the hockey world, you're 3 degrees removed from anybody. And these dudes were, they had played with the Wolves of the OHL, and they had their own stories. They played minor pro. So we had a great time, and then we headed over to a couple of local bars, finished at the Station, which is a wild little spot with lots of board games and whatnot. It's a little watering hole we like to visit. But anyway, it was a fucking awesome time. Thanks, Trevor Crane. Once again, thanks, Adam Pac-Man Paquette. What a guy. And the rest of the Glorious Sons that made it happen. Highly recommend their music. In this world where there's less and less instruments being played and songs being written in the rock and roll, I guess, there's not as much rock and roll. It's not necessarily a complaint, although I do love rock and roll. I pretty much welcome any genre. Last week, my biggest was probably classical. Got into Johann Sebastian Bach. And it's wild. He's the first composer, I guess. I mean, he was hundreds of years ago. He was alive. But he's the first composer that I can almost tell by ear that it's Bach, right? Like if I don't know, if you're into Pearl Jam or the Beatles or the Stones or fucking AC/DC, right? You can hear it, but I mean, this is 2023, and people are actually singing and different instruments and all that. But when it comes to classical, one often thinks you can't tell one artist from another. You can't tell Mozart from Beethoven from Bach. Shoresy, no, not Shoresy. Who's the? Oh God, my favorite Canadian local, Frank Mills. Check out Music Box Dancer and Peter Piper. Check those songs out now. Okay, that just popped into my mind. He's one of my favorite Canadian composers. His name is Frank Mills. I saw him at the Arts and Culture Center when I was a kid, and I couldn't believe how magic a man with a piano could sound. And I'd heard Liberace. I know the Beatles, obviously, Elton John, Billy Joel, but this guy just fucking came out with a piano. That's it. With no fucking singing. It's fucking wild. Music Box Dancer. I think that became really famous. It was in a movie. Before my time, maybe like early 80s or something. I was born in 77. I think you'll recognize the song, to be honest. And this his second big one was like, these are fucking top 40 hits by a composer, a pianist, which is rare, Peter Piper. Anyway, now I'm off on another fucking tangent. But what was I getting at? Oh yeah, the Glorious Sons. I like all forms of music. I really do. I think it's in a bit of a void, though. I really think that. The music industry, I mean. For a lot of reasons, but I don't want to get into that on this episode. I'm not just talking from a lot of people would think because of my age and I like the Beatles that I'm probably all about classic rock. I mean, I am. I love classic rock. But it's probably like a fifth or a quarter of why am I with all, what's today? Like math day? These fractions. It's probably like a quarter of what I listen to. I listen to all kinds of stuff. I don't fucking know. Name it. Bluegrass, hip hop, fucking classical blues, You know, I love Miles Davis. Fucking Billie Holiday is one of my favorites. You know, I'm all over the map. I just think right now, if you were to hear, say, what's popular, a lot of it I don't even understand. It doesn't have a beat. The lyrics are nothing to write home about. No pun intended. It's just blah, a lot of it. I don't want to get specific. And maybe I'm old man yelling at the clouds, but I really don't think so. I don't. And I appreciate a good singer-songwriter. They're out there. It's just not that popular. And, you know, rock and roll isn't that popular. But I don't know. I prefer rap in the fucking 90s and 2000s, to be honest. You know? Like me some Dre, some Snoop. NWA are one of the fucking most brilliant bands ever. Right? It's not a rap versus rock thing. It's not a black versus white thing. I just think now, if you were to listen to Spotify's top 40 in your country, whatever it is, and that list changes so much now, that part, I guess, is dated. But I'm just saying, the things that are popular. Now, it's ringtones drive it, right? I was reading this article in Rolling Stone magazine. Like all kinds of things. You know, there might be a TikTok, obviously, right? Someone might have a ringtone that's popular in a TV show, and you know, ringtones have been in the top 40, stuff like that. It's harder to keep track now. It used to be just sales, right? So, I mean, what is popular? TikTok's popular. One TikTok, you know, might reach more ears than the new fucking Green Day album, right? And it might be all about what's happening on the TikTok. So it's not even music that drives music industry anymore. You know, it's just a weird kind of time. And I don't see it changing. But the talent's out there and everything. I'm just saying, there are still bands, there are still people that play music. Shout out to my real good buddies at home, Derek Graham and Nick Earl. Check out Nick Earl. Restless Hearts. Fuck, they're great. Derek Graham just moved back. You know, a lot of these are my buddies that play covers, but they've got lots of their own great stuff. David White from St. John's, just giving a few of my friends a shout out. Dave White. But anyway, you know, what am I talking about here? One thing, though, I don't get, like Spotify coming out with these lists. So if you listen to Spotify, and I'm sure most people that I'm talking to here do to some degree, even if it's just podcasts. And by the way, I talk about Spotify a lot, which kind of, even though they're ultra popular worldwide, I'm still kind of promoting them. And they fuck the whole process. It's not just Spotify. I mean, it's the internet. Kind of fucked over musicians. So if I'm going to sit here and talk about that, which is inadvertently promoting Spotify, I want to point out that any band that I like, I go out and buy the fucking CD. I might even not hear it, but I do have a CD player in my Jeep that I use. Me and Penny Lane really enjoy it, and it forces us to listen to albums. I guess it was me kind of forcing it on her, but she does enjoy it. We get in, and sometimes we listen to playlists, but often she'll say, you know, throw on an album, and we'll throw in, I don't know, fucking any one of a number of CD. By album, I mean, you know, not the actual vinyl record, but an album, you know, that was meant to be songs in order in a package with a cover. Anyway, so if I'm going to listen to Spotify, and I figure I'm, especially bands that I really like, not every single song, but like a band like the Glorious Sons, who I sit here and talk about and hoping that they're popular and they gain success because I like that kind of music. I go out and buy their shit. That first album I mentioned, Heavy, I remember that, yeah, that's my thought process. I went down to Fred's Records, and I believe I ordered it. But I make sure to do that. Support artists. Like, I know what it's like to have someone buy my book and then pass it around a bus. It's all good because the word gets out there, and I didn't write my book to make money. More than anything, I'm glad that my story got out there, and my stories, I guess, my little anecdotes and about my small and unimportant, minute life in the scheme of things, that a lot of people have read it. The actual buying and the money making, that was a secondary thing, and I'm glad it still happens. but no one's making $1 million in the book business. And lots of times, people tell me, yeah, I bought they'll be on a team and they'll buy the book and everybody will share it. And, so 20 people read it, one person buys it. That's fine though. Honestly, I'm not complaining about that because I knew that going in. But if I was strictly an author and I didn't do anything else, I think it would bother me a bit. Not that process of because I appreciate people reading it, but just the setup, like if you're a musician and you're pouring your heart into these songs, even more so, you're pouring because people kind of knew my story. I'm glad that I wrote the book, and ECW let me do it without a ghostwriter. They let me write it how I wanted it written, how my journals were written, and I went and edited it myself and chose the stories that I wanted. A lot of other companies wanted like all NHL stuff, and I was like, no, that was just a small part of my life, and I'm proud of my life. I'm not just proud of the Montreal Canadiens. That was nice, and I'll forever be grateful that happened. But it was a small little snippet of my life. It was 3 or 4 years. That's it. And I considered my hockey career, quote unquote, I consider that starting when I was like 5 or 6. Like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I really just felt I was a hockey player and my dad was a hockey player. I didn't really give it much thought. I knew I was a hockey player. I was a creative writer as well. I would do well in school. In my mind, I guess, I can't really remember my thought process, but I know it was something to do with hockey. I know that. And I know that my dad coaching the junior and the senior teams growing up and always being on the ice. And, I went away at 14. So I must have had an idea. I wouldn't have gone if I definitely wouldn't have gone. I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave my home. Pre-internet. Fuck, man. With an accent, fucking 14 years old, zits all over my face, go out to play junior in BC. Oh, my God. I'd rather be fucking hit across the face with a sack of hammers for a week. Fuck, man. I fucking hated having to do it. Oh, man, I cried. But I knew that, and Dad gave me the option. We're on the plane. I remember saying, we can get off now, man. You can score 6 goals a game for O'Donnell High School. Be a big fish, man. But I'm telling you now, you're good enough to make it. And so I just logically thought about it, man. I looked myself in the mirror, I remember, and literally talking to myself, looking into my own eyes. I do that when the stakes are real low, or real high, I guess, real low. When I'm feeling really low and the stakes are high and I have to make a decision. And I just looked in the mirror. I said, gut this out. You fucking do this. You do it. You'll do it because you'll regret it forever, and you don't want to regret something forever. And then Dad said, I remember, he said, how about you give it a month? Give it a month. And I promise you that if you don't like it, we'll go home. And you're only 14. I remember him saying, like, you got all the time in the world. But it was a great opportunity. And yeah, I have no idea how I started talking about this. As I said, I'm hungover. I got a couple of gummies in me, but I don't know. Oh, something about, yeah, oh my fuck, yeah, the book. Jesus. So that part of me, like the author, I've always considered myself somewhat of a writer too, but it's more to myself, right? Because I'm writing, I have stacks and stacks of binders and writings and little poems and short stories, some of them fact, some of them fiction, but I always kept little things that would happen to me. I'd write them down, right? And so a lot of it's public in the book, a lot of it's just a kid growing up, but I'm glad that I poured that into the book, and the people that read it, I'm happy that they're reading my story the way I wanted it to be told. But if I was a musician, and relied on that, like, if you're a musician, you're playing a lot of music. I mean, I don't know, playing on George Street, it's a living, but it's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of counting loonies and pennies, I just mean, like, a few $100 here, a few $100 there. I know how it is, man. I ran bars before. I've been a beer rep, and I've I've seen it. I live in Newfoundland. I go to George Street every week, which is packed with live singer-songwriters. And, Spotify really kind of fucked up their living in a way. And if it wasn't Spotify, it'd be something else. What was it back in the day? Napster? But it was coming, right? It's the internet. So I like to support a band, especially if they get us tickets. Now, I knew the Glorious Sons before. I've seen them live. They came to St. John's just the past summer. But I didn't know that they were fans of the show or anything, and they had us down. It was nice to meet them. Nice to see that they're good people. But yeah, so point is, if there's a band that I even remotely like, I'll buy the CD or the vinyl. Listen to a lot of vinyl. It's just not always available. But I do. But I just make sure and support him, right? Ted Nolan's here, who just wrote a book. He's actually here today. He's two of the Jims, Brandon and Jordan. It's their father. So I bought a book off him. I like to support that. But anyway, what I was going to say earlier about Spotify, all these lists coming. Fuck, I'm all over the place. But all these lists, fucking your most listened songs, albums of the year, podcasts and stuff. It's fucking December 1st, is it? It's November 30th. These things came out 2 days ago, November 28th. What are you talking about? The year. Don't we have another month left? Am I fucking crazy? Or it's not one whole 12th. This is fucking fraction day. 1/12 of the year hasn't happened yet. Right? I think that's a significant portion. So it's not a yearly list. What's the rush? Why does Spotify have to give the yearly list in November? I don't understand it. I don't. And December's a big fucking part of the year. Right? I mean, meaning it's changing of the seasons. There's lots of fucking songs released at Christmas. Lots of albums, generally the most at that time of year. And you're going to put out, what is the fucking rush? It's a metaphor for everything else. So many things are fucking, what's the word? Just fast packaged now and quick. Remember when a music video used to be a short form of music? Now it's like no one wants to watch a full video. They watch 14-second snippet on TikTok of that music being played as someone juggles with fucking fiery bowling pins or some shit. But it's just in this fast packaged fucking world. What's the rush? We don't. Why rush if we don't have to? So this list coming out in November, and we all buy it. We all buy into it and post the lists. Well, wherever you are, whoever runs Spotify, you'll never hear this. But fucking relax. Fucking relax. The year's not over. Just imagine if people just assume the year was over in November. I'm 46 years old. That's 46 months of my life that you're just passing off as nothing. December doesn't matter. 46 months. Right? Years of my life would just be discounted if we didn't count December. What is the fucking rush? Sit back, breathe, and include December in your fucking calendar year, Spotify. Not that you'll ever hear this. On the off chance you do, relax. What the hell else was I going to talk about here, folks? Just give me a second. What a mess today. Although me and Fish went down for a hot tub earlier, and I do love that about the hotel we're in. Fucking awesome setup. It's actually, ever notice a lot of hotels now don't have a hot tub? I don't know if it was after COVID that people To me, it's like really hot water. Like the least worried. I'd be more worried about kids pissing in it, really, but I don't really worry about that. Whatever. It's just out of sight, out of mind. But obviously, kids piss in it, right? You go into any public pool, you're 100% certain that you're swimming in that water, and it contains human urine. You're positive of that. You really think about it. Anyway, like everybody else, I just turn a blind eye. But I have noticed, and I stay in a lot of hotels in a lot of different places, and I've noticed since COVID, a lot of the hot tubs are shut down. The science doesn't make sense to me why that would be the case, but I don't know if it's sanitary reasons. I don't. But this hotel, and not only do they have a hot tub, it's actually hot. That's my other thing. Hot tubs in hotels usually exist, but they're either shut down or they're there and they're working. They're functional, but they're like lukewarm, which is even more of a piss off. Just end up getting a hot bath. But anyway, this one has a pool. It has a hot tub. I guess it doesn't have great internet. We'll find out after this pod. And I apologize. I know that it's shaky here and there. Guys, there's nothing I can do about that. I've tried every hookup, the hotel. I've moved rooms. And this is the best it's going to get for the next 19 days. After that, I'll be back at home firing on all cylinders. Oh, God. Jason Gregor. Okay, so I'm on the Jason Gregor show again today in just an hour and a half. I'm looking forward to that. A lot of you guys ask me questions about the Oilers. So for today, I'm just going to say tune into that. Tune into Mondays and Thursdays, I'm on with Gregor. And I end up repeating myself. Now, a lot of you, so just tune into that, okay? If you can. That's where I'll talk about the Oilers. And we talk about it a lot. You can imagine a hockey program in the heart of Oilers Nation, especially while they started so poorly. I mean, there's people freaking out. There's a lot of big-time fans that follow it, that phone in. A lot of the guests is very Oilers-centric, but it should be. I expect that out of Edmonton. That's why they're such fucking great fans. One of my greatest years ever, the most fun was 96, 97, playing for the Red Deer Rebels, man, in Alberta. Hockey fans, fucking, if you're on a heater, they really support it. I go back now and people remember it. I go back to Red Deer, like, here and there. And not even for hockey reasons a lot, just friends there. I guess it all is under the hockey umbrella, but you know what I mean. I'm going out in Calgary. I'll probably drive up. I'm going out in January to Calgary. I'll probably drive up. Well, Billets, shout out to the Tommelties. But anyway, yeah, like I'll be in like a fucking gas station and someone will come in and go, "Ah, man, that was a great run in 96, 97. It's that kind of thing. People really appreciate good hockey team.
Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. With DraftKings, you can bet on any game you want. Whether you want to bet the puck line or the over-under, DraftKings has something for everybody. And if you want, you can throw down on your favorite player as an anytime goal scorer. Or if you're looking for a long-term bet, maybe you want to predict the Stanley Cup champion. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. New customers get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's promo code THPN, as in the Hockey Podcast Network, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023, all rights reserved.
Oh, I wanted to mention my buddy Joe Dolo. So, guys, check out his music. He's a really Jonathan Diaby. Okay, so he plays Dolo on the show. I mean, of all of us, I mean, I'm playing a Newfoundlander, but I have to remind people, like, I'm not Ted Hitchcock, right? There are similarities. I think Keith enjoys that, like that Hitch likes music, and so do I. A lot of the same music. But, you know, the obvious is that Hitch is a defenseman and I'm not in regular life. But there's only so much we know about Hitch so far. And, you know, obviously there's similarities. He's an ex-first round pick. He's from Newfoundland. But, yeah, I was going to, because I don't want to give away like season 3. I nearly did just then. What happens? Yeah, there'll be a little bit more depth, right? As there are to all the characters. But my point being, Joe Dolo is the closest to like playing himself. Like in the show, I mean, there are slight differences. Like he doesn't lead with French all the time in real life, but he is French. He's a defenseman, a hockey player, a damn good one. Played a full year in the American Hockey League, like 6'4", 6'5", 220, a big, deep, mobile. Like, you know, this guy is like, you know, like of all of us, he can do the Michigan pretty good. Like he can do it at the drop of a hat. You know, real good hands for a big guy, a rocket of a shot. And, you know, spent 3 years in the minors, like with 3rd-round pick, the Nashville Predators. You know, like he's a big-time hockey player. But he's a rapper as well. And he quit hockey. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I've had him on this podcast. But in pursuit of a rap dream that he had, you know, he would be writing on the bus. And I remember he said to me, Satiri, there was a point that I realized, you know, my heart was in writing and rapping. And I've seen this guy at work. Like he's really, really good. He's not mailing it in either. Like he's got his computer set up down there with his speakers. He's always listening to new music to get ideas. He sits like I do. Like I take my journal everywhere. I'll look over and if he gets an idea, man, he'll go over and he'll write a song and like he gets inspired. The more I get to know Joe Dolo in real life, the more I realize like this guy's an artist. He was a good hockey player, but he's meant to be creative, this guy, right? I fully believe that he could have played in the NHL, though. Fully, given the right opportunity. He's a big guy with a fucking, like I said, a cannon of a shot. We're out there playing against pros and everything. Like we're out there. We play enough that it's not all just in front of the camera. Like we play a little bit 3-on-3 once in a while, especially at the start. You know, we're out there playing the hockey scenes. Like we've got to actually be playing hockey. You know, like there's no tricks there. There's cameras. We kind of have an idea what's going to happen, obviously, but you know, you've got to shoot the puck into the net. You've got to be stick handling. You've got to show that agility. You've got to show your hockey playing, and he's a great player. And looking at his numbers and where he got drafted and everything, I totally see what Nashville saw in him. And to be honest with you, I think they could have. I think another team maybe would have given him a chance, at least a few NHL games. I've seen far worse play in the NHL. That's true. Anyway, but now that I get to realize, you know, I keep going back to that first time because I was fascinated. First song I heard, I think, at least the first one I was enamored with by him was called Feel Blessed. It's a great tune. Check it out. And, but he's got like he's fucking dropped a video yesterday. He's always writing. Going Gold is coming next. And I think his latest release is called Taking Chances. But anyway, I'm not just saying it because he's my buddy. I have no reason to say it. He's not paying me any money to do this. I just really, I got into it again this afternoon. I often you know what I do when I'm hungover a lot? It's weird. I get in the bathtub. I turn the lights out. I put skim milk in the freezer until it's like just frozen in the glass, just huge glass, and till it's like almost frozen. And then I go in the piping hot bath and I just listen to music. I'll often put on an artist and get in the bath and then have it, so I can't even touch my phone if I wanted to. So I'm forced to like relax, fucking with an ice cold glass of milk. I know a lot of people find that gross. In a piping hot bath, like can't get it any hotter without burning myself. And I listen. And today I just did a little bit of a dive into the Beatles. So the Beatles just had, like I said, they remastered one of their albums in coinciding with the release of Now and Then, their last song that only came out a month ago, but it's on the greatest hits. So they had 2 greatest hits packages, right? 62 to 66, 67 to 70. And so they just added Now and Then. But it's remastered. It sounds a little bit different. For a Beatles fan, it's worth listening to. But I like to often listen to 2 or 3 artists, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I just plugged in those Beatles albums, the 2 greatest hits packages, and Dolo, maybe 2 or 3. He's got an EP and a couple, maybe 15 Dolo songs. And it was great. And I was reminded of what a fucking great writer my buddy is, you know? And I love Dolo's music. I do. It's like, I don't know, it reminds me of old school. Like there's a beat usually, the lyrics are creative and funny a lot of the time. Like they're so good they're funny, right? Like I love Jay-Z for that reason. The Beastie Boys, Run DMC, they're old, early Snoop. You know, I guess all Snoop, but early was my favorite. Dr. Dre, like the lyrics are so good they're almost funny. And sometimes it's on purpose, but sometimes it's not. Like, and Dolo's like that. Like the fucking guy can freestyle, he can rap, and when he gets inspired, boom, it's like he just creates something. I fucking love to watch it. Anyway, why not give him a shout out? So check out all things Joe Dolo, if you're into that. Start with Feel Blessed. That was the one that kind of turned me on to him. I would have checked him out anyway, and I would have supported him anyway, and I would have said he was good anyway because he's my friend. But I really, really encourage each and every one of you to just at least give it a chance. I fucking love to see people that are real creative and real good be rewarded. And he's starting to come into his own now. He's starting to get a bit of a following, and I don't see that snowball getting any smaller. And we're actually going to tour after Christmas. So he's obviously going to tour his music, and I think I'm just going to get up and do a little blurb at the beginning, maybe, you know, like, you know, just there's so many options, but, you know, I might just get up and tell a little story or do some stand-up or you know, yeah, like quote unquote, like public speaking, whatever that might be. Like I'll open the show, kind of like MC it, but you know, I wrote a few small raps that are pure funny. Like, so maybe I'll give a bit of think of a live storytelling session. That's what I'm going to do. I say stand up, but mine is more of a storytelling thing, as you probably know. So I'm going to get up and tell stories for 20 or 30 minutes, right? And then he's going to come on and blow the socks off it. And then either at the beginning or the end, we'll do one of the ones I wrote in, like, again, when I say right, it's like when I have a guest on and I make rhymes at the beginning of the show. They're just rhymes. There's no depth to them, and they're almost cheesy, right? Next to Dolo stuff, it looks terrible. But I think I'm doing it tongue in cheek, and I think people will realize that. I mean, I know I'm not a rapper, and I never will be, but it's probably going to be a fun thing that we do together. Anyway, keep your eyes and ears open. We're going to Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Fredericton, I think Calgary, but we'll be all over, and that'll be the first part of 2024. I'll also be in Banff, January 26th, to give a speech. My old buddy Tyler Gale, who's a police officer out there, they've got an event and for raising money for charity. I'll announce more as the time approaches, but I'll be there then. I think I'm going to drive up to Edmonton, do a live show, live show on the Gregor show that I'm on Mondays and Thursdays, but I'd like to drop up. I love Edmonton, and I'll probably be up there at the end of January. Then in Right after that, I'll be in Hershey, Pennsylvania, for another, I believe it's a Hockey Fights Cancer thing. I'll be in Moncton for a hockey alumni event shortly after that. But stay tuned. I should have really had that stuff. I'll have dates next time. A lot of people ask and a lot of people plan on it, and I often don't announce these things, and I probably should. Now, the last thing I'm going to say today, okay? I'm getting a lot of these cameos. If you want one of these things, guys, I'm sorry, you got to go through Cameo. I don't mean to be a fucking dick either. I'm looking down now. Birthday for Joycey. Joycey? How do you spell that? Joysea. And anyway, yeah, sorry. So like I got 3 hours to do this, okay? This one, for example, this is for this guy. What do they want? He'll be on a boat getting drunk with myself, Gav Damo, and Daddy Galvin. They're turning 45. Massive Shoresy fan. He likes to talk about snipers, but he's a one-woman man. Can chirp as good as Shoresy, can drink Corona like it's water. Terry, please work your magic and send us a cameo, right? Now, I've got 10 of those to do by tomorrow at 5. This one has to be done in 3 hours. That's what I mean. Like, and I want to do a good job for these people because they're paying money. I put the price up, man. It's at $134, right? So I'd love to do it for cheaper, guys, but I can't because I don't have time. So please stop asking me to do these for free. I love you guys. And like every day, though, people send me video. They're like, hey, can you send me? My kid's got a game. Can you send one of those videos? I'm like, first of all, yes, but it really undermines everybody else. Let me get my ones that people pay for first out of the way, which is usually ongoing. And I feel it's an insult to them to just be firing them out free. And I don't have the time, guys. I don't. I joke and Shoresy is great and everything, but we have to remember lines. Like there's a lot of remembering to it. And, knowing the character, and there is work that goes into it. Not to mention the 12, 13-hour work days, of which this isn't one, but this is rare. I'm 4 or 5 days at least a week in there. And then on the other 2 days, scrambling for guests for my pod, doing these cameos, right? Like I got to do this in 3 hours. Like it's going to take me 3. I write it. I try to do a decent job. It's a birthday. This guy watches Shoresy. He's a big fan. I think I can just be happy fucking birthday and turn the camera off, right? So please stop asking me to do these for free. And because I hate saying no to people and seeming like a pretentious cunt. And I really fucking do. But it's true. I can't do them for free because it's part of my livelihood, first of all. But I got to get the ones people respect me enough to pay $134 for this. Well, I'm going to do a good job. And, at times like this, I'm just reminded, like, it's great to have fans out there that think enough of me and of the show to pay this kind of money for happy birthdays and shit. But anyway, so yeah, I don't mean to be a dick. I get a lot of messages and I love interacting with fans. I really do. Rather do it in person. But, the answer is no. I can't do it for free. God, I sound like a fucking dick. Anyway, that's it. And you know where the money for these go? It goes to Penny Lane's college. These go into an account and I never want to look at it. Ever. I never want to look at it. And that's the truth. I have a separate account made for it. Every cent that I make comes straight through and goes in to that bank account. I have it set up that way. And I'll never look at it until she's 18. She's done high school. I guess the cat's out of the bag. No one really knew that. Now she's going to find out because inevitably someone will tell her. But if they don't, then yeah, it's going to be a surprise that she gets. Here you go. Boom, daddy. Whatever the fuck it is, this is my cameos for the last 6 years. Shoresy could be well over. I really don't know. I got my fucking fingers crossed that this keeps going because I'll never get this lucky again. But I can't really say that, but I really did. There's hard work that goes into it, but man, we got lucky with this. Thank you, Jared Kiso. I say that every goddamn day. But that's it. So she's going to have, it adds up, man. It's already thousands, like I've made in a year and a half. And I don't even want to know exactly, but I want it to be, there is a part of the site that you can use for that, but I tend to not go there. I looked at it like 6 months ago and I was like, oh my God, she's going to be pretty happy. You know, she's going to be happy. She's, my goal is to pay for all her schooling, and hopefully if there's any extra whatsoever, you know, maybe a vehicle or something. But this is Penny Lane's money, not mine. Lastly, you guys, a lot of people ask me what books I read. Okay, this is my, if you're on YouTube right now, I'm holding it up. Chuck Klosterman. That's my favorite writer ever. He's an essayist, okay? There's a book called Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. It came out in the 90s. It's just really, I don't know what to compare him to. Maybe Hunter S. Thompson, those of you that are into him. Just being in that it's weird, it's creative. This latest, that's my favorite. My favorite book is Sex, Drugs, Cocoa Puffs. So this is right here, Chuck Klosterman, the 90s. And it's his take on the 90s. It's just fucking great so far. Again, a lot of you ask me what I'm reading, so that's why I'm bringing this up. It's, God, how do I even explain this? I don't know. It's a lot of rambling thought. It's like almost listening to one of my podcasts. Like it's rambling. You've got to like, okay, put your thinking cap on. Like you got to strap in and you can't be daydreaming while you're reading this. It's all over the place. But he'll often bring up like, say, okay, just it's hard to boil it down to any one thing in particular, but he's speaking about how in the 90s it was cool to be uncool. Like, you know, think the grunge kind of movement, Nirvana, Nevermind, the video Smells Like Teen Spirit. You know, it was cool to not give a fuck, you know, and the angst and teenage rebellion and Generation X, they call it, of which I'm one of. And, you know, and now how things have completely changed. In 2023, it's all about selfies and marketing. And even then, even though there was a you know, that it was cool to be uncool thing, but it was a contradiction largely. There was, because it was like a lot of these artists that, you know, said, don't be a sellout. Remember Neil Young? This note's for you, right? He's fucking pointing his finger at the big fucking companies, Coke, Pepsi, fucking beers. He names them in the song, fucking, right? But he himself did all kinds of selling out, right? He sold his songs as well. He did all kinds of specific. Again, I don't know that I can't remember specifics, and he hasn't gotten into that yet. He's just kind of on the precipice of it in this book. But that's the point. Like, you know, it was cool to not be a sellout by being a sellout, right? Like I love Green Day, but they're based in punk. The whole punk movement kind of came from, you know, we're poor, we don't give a fuck, we don't want the government. Fuck you, anarchy in the USA. Fuck, you know what I mean? Like the fucking Clash, right? Like coming from London Calling, you know, really brilliant band, but it was almost about being, you know, what's the word? Not a sellout, like uncommercial. Fuck you. I don't care if our song's a hit. Meanwhile, good thing our song's a hit because I certainly like traveling and I like big houses, right? Like, you know, it almost became a tongue-in-cheek thing with Green Day. But I mean, I really, really like Green Day. Even Nirvana. Now, in a way, it partially killed Kurt Cobain, all the fame. I don't think he knew how to deal with it. But, you know, David Grohl, you know, Foo Fighters picked up kind of where Nirvana left off. Nirvana's one of the greatest bands ever, obviously, but you know, Kurt Novoselic, is that how you say the other band member's name? Kurt, I forget how you say it. I think that's it. They became gazillionaires and enjoyed it. I'm sure David Grohl is like, I don't know. I mentioned NWA. I'm sure that the music came from somewhere real. Like, obviously it did. That's where they grew up. That was their roots. But eventually in the late 90s, Ice Cube is, living in Beverly Hills, right? Like on a TV show. It's all a little bit of a contradiction. So that's kind of the premise of this book. Just how to absorb the 90s. Like, is it really what we remember? The undefinable decade kind of has some definitions to it, right? And anyway, so it's the whole book is unpackaging the 90s kind of thing, but only Chuck Klosterman could. So that's what I'm reading. Thanks for tuning in. I had to go now get ready for the Jason Greger podcast. And thanks again to Gloria's Sons. And for each of you that listen to me ramble every week, I fucking really appreciate it. I love what I do. And I'm forever grateful for this podcast, for Shoresy, and for each little opportunity. But as I sit here in my hotel room, feeling a little bit lonely at times, I just miss my daughter so much. I miss home, but I really, 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 really miss Penny Lane. I feel like part of me isn't here, But anyway, I have to be reminded I'm speaking into this microphone, and there's tens of thousands of people going to hear this in just a few hours, or starting in just a few hours. And it makes me feel, I don't know why, a little bit less lonely to kind of spend the time with you people. There you go. I couldn't say it any better. I couldn't explain it any better than that. So thank you. And by the way, if any of you are in downtown St. John's and you want to go out for a night, have a few drinks, you know where I'd go? I'd start at Trinity Pub, and I'd make my way up the street. I'd go to TJ's Pub for sure for one. I wouldn't want to not go to Rob Roy Confusion and check out what Kevin English got going on, so I'd stop in there. Then I'd go maybe to the Martini Bar, and definitely the Bull and Barrel, and I'd finish up watching some great live music at Green Sleeves Pub. One of those guys I mentioned earlier. Nick Earl, Derek Graham, Dave White, Chris Ryan, Damian Follett, just some of the local legends that grace the stage of Green Sleeves. I really miss Green Sleeves. It's, guys remember the TV show Cheers? It's kind of the way I feel about. I feel, you're a regular there, I guess. I go there I don't drink a lot. I get hammered once a week. Not usually on fucking Wednesday night, though. But of course, I'd rather see the Glorious Sons and have a few drinks than not. That's just me. I'm not going to apologize. But I do go down to Green Sleeves. Even when I'm not drinking, man, I drop down for a bite to eat. It's nice to watch some live music at a nice venue. Anyway, I love Green Sleeves. So check that out. And upstairs is the Loose Tie. What a great spot to have a meal. Speaking of great spots to have a meal, check out the Loose Tie, but also Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, and Wedgwood Cafe. Peter Wedgwood also caters, and he's great at it, so check that out. Peter Wedgwood, shout out, by the way. Thanks. You're one of those listeners right from day one, and I really appreciate you, buddy. And I'm not kidding. It's great food. Check it out. Like having lunch at Wedge's. Great place to have lunch. If you want to work out, you want strength and balance for the body and mind, look no further than Power Conditioning on Rope Walk Lane. Ryan Power is as creative with his workouts, interactions with customers, physiology, kinesiology, whatever you want to call it. The guy knows the human body. Played hockey, pro hockey, one of the fastest players I've ever seen. It's no fluke that he trains Alex Newhook. But Ryan, again, I'm not just saying it. I've got no reason to say this every week. He helped me out. I've got no reason. It's nice, not a paid ad. I say it because I watch that guy with my own eyes transform lives. Not every one of them an athlete. I told you guys about Janet Cull, one of the best local musicians. There you go. You want to talk local musicians in fucking St. John's? Check out her, Janet Cull, the voice of an angel. No shit. Well, excuse me. Sorry about that. I had the internet. Speaking of bad internet, it went for there for a second. But anyway, Janet Cull transform. Like, it's not like Janet was big and fat or anything. She had a few extra pounds on, I guess. I mean, I don't want to say that. She's an attractive girl. I just mean that I watched it. I watched her go in there like a non-athlete, and she could have been. She's athletic. Grew up out in St. Anthony Bight, to be honest. Small little place, northern coast of Newfoundland. Like fucking way up there, 12, 13 hours from St. John's. And anyway, so I don't think that she had, like, when I say non-athlete, I just mean like wasn't registered for sports. But she's in there, she's coordinated. But anyway, like I'm saying, he doesn't just, train professional athletes or anything. The ones you hear about, Maggie Connors, shout out Maggie, just got drafted to Toronto, going to play professional hockey, first Newfoundlander female to do it. But he trains her. He trains Alex Newhook's sister, Abby. She's one of the best players in American college hockey. But, he also trains all kinds of people that you don't hear about. And I watched Janet, man. Like, Janet would hike, and she was fairly active, but she wanted to, like, tone up a little bit. And once she went in there and, like, I saw the physical transformation in a month like I've never seen anybody, any athlete, ever before. And that's what Ryan does. You want it? You want your body a certain way, he will fucking shape it. I promise you. I worked out with him for what, 3 or 4 months? You look at me in Shoresy too. That was hard. But I only went in there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, of course, I ate well, and I did cardio almost every single day, man. I do cardio to some degree. But he, all of that, those, Kisa wanted me to get bigger for reasons that you see now as you watch it. But, it was part of the plot. But anyway, it was Ryan Power, man. I told him what I wanted, and boom, I was fucking, what did I put on? Like 15 pounds of muscle, right? So anyway, shout out to him. What was I going to say? Oh, Mr. Lube. Yeah, 2 locations, Torbay Road, Camount Road. Chris Sparks, one of my best buddies in the world. We just won a world championship in ball hockey 2 months ago. Well, Sparky owns the Mr. Lubes. And if for no other reason, go support one of the finest athletes Newfoundland has ever seen, in being Chris Sparks. Really, you look into it. We've won baseball championship, won a city baseball championship together. We won a herder together, which is a Newfoundland hockey championship. The senior, very coveted trophy that meant a lot to win one of those. And did it with Sparky. And then we won a national championship together in ball hockey, and now a world championship together. And we got a world bronze as well. But Sparky and I have been teammates across 3 sports. We've been roommates in multiple different countries. We've got championships on a local level, a provincial level, a national level, and a world level. No shit. So, I don't know. So go support Mr. fucking Lube. I just mean, I don't talk about guys like that. I've asked Sparky. I want to get him on my podcast. No shit. Look, I never really thought about it like that until I'm talking about him. But yeah, a baseball city championship. Yeah, provincial with the herder, then national, ball hockey, and fucking world. Wild. And that can be also Mike Dyke. He's another guy. So 2 of those guys, I've been on all those teams with me. Wild, man. Time flies. But yeah, 2 of my closest teammates ever. I'll have Sparky on. Maybe I'll have him and Dykester on. Maybe I'll do that. Anyway, shout out to Chris Sparks. Where the fuck am I here? Corey Gregory, True Hockey, take what's yours. Thanks, buddy. And of course, Pitbull Pain Relief. The pain sticks that just don't quit. My buddy Merle out in BC, thank you for hooking me up. If you're an athlete and you have a lot of dings and injuries like me, muscles get sore, this stuff's great. It's like a fucking It looks like underarm deodorant, and it's just like it's an A535 type of thing, but better. And anyway, check it out. I haven't heard anybody complain. He sends me them, and everybody I've played soccer or ball hockey or baseball or hockey with, I haven't heard any complaints ever. So anyway, check it out. Guys, listen, thanks very much for tuning in to Tales with TR 181A. I'll be going on with Jason Gregor now in an hour, which probably will be in the past by the time you guys hear this. But thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I fucking promise you that in 2 days from now, I'm going to have a great guest for 181B. We're going to the Raptors tomorrow. Watch my Instagram feed. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to a Raptors game. Going to head down with Dolo, Goody, and Tassia Tellis, who plays net. So check it out. And I will be back in just a couple of days with an awesome guest. I just don't know who it is yet. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys on Rebound.